Hello and merry meet. It is Sunday and it is time for Witchy Book Club. We have 2 chapters left, so we're doing chapter 12 this week, chapter 13 next week, and then the week after that we will be starting a new book. So I'll hold this up so we can all see. Spiral Dance by Starhawk. I know a few people like to have me flip it. Hang on, wait, not flip, mirror video. There we go. All right, Spiral Dance by Starhawk. We are on chapter 12, the Will of the Year. So next week is our last week with this book. We'll be doing chapter 13, and then we will start the book by Bren Nix about the goddess Nyx. This will be a 2-week book. You do need to go to Bren's link in his bio to purchase the book, and you will still have time to purchase the book for book club. So yeah, as long as I would say you get it in the next 2 days, you should have it by the time we start book club. So, all right, I'm going to flip this back just because I'm so used to it being this direction, so it looks weird to me when I'm flipped. So, happy Sunday, everybody, and those in the United States. I hope you're having a good long weekend because we do have a holiday tomorrow, so it'll be kind of nice to have a day off. So welcome. All right, I'm going to jump in to Witchy Book Club. All right, so this is chapter 12, the Will of the Year. The nice thing about this book is if you are new to paganism and witchcraft, this is a really, really great book to help get you started. And like for me, I read this, a long time ago, I think 10 years ago, maybe longer. And I have found that there's little things that I kind of forgot. So it's always good to have kind of that nice little refresher. So, all right. The first question here is, what is the significance of sabbats in spiritual practice? So we have 8 sabbats in paganism, and they are literally the universal cycles. They are the seasonal cycles, and this marks birth, growth. We'll use the word decay and transformation. So as we go through, we're in fall, so we're in the decay portion right now. And then the transformation will take place during winter when we arise again from spring with birth. So they're the reminder of our connectedness with nature. It also helps us tap into our inner power for ourselves to heal, and grow. And it's a really great way to foster our community. It's a beautiful way to have rituals and libations and get to know other members. So the neat thing about paganism is it's not like going to temple or mass. We don't have every week where we go to a specific church and we have, a religious discussion. Some pagans do that in their covens, in their groves, depending on what they call it. So our sabbats are a way to celebrate this cycle of life and celebrate the seasons and grow and bond with other pagans and other members of the community. So that's always really, really, I think, important for us to be able to do. And, sometimes we do it solitary. And it's okay. It's okay if you do it solitary or if you have a group. Either way is fine. It's what resonates with you and what you find to resonate with your lifestyle. All right, the next question for the Spiral Dance, chapter 12. She kind of goes a little, so one thing I kind of noticed is different pagans practice the Will of the Year a little bit differently. And in this book, she starts with Yule. So you're going to find that a lot of people do start the Will of the Year with Samhain, which most people who aren't familiar with paganism will know it as Halloween. But it is different than Halloween. It's very different than Halloween. But she starts out with Yule. And so she talks about rituals with Yule. And the question is, how do rituals at Yule reflect the themes of rebirth and hope? So, and please feel free, this is open panel, so please feel free to request to come up, especially if you practice and you want to share your experiences or anything. So one thing I do want to say, she does give some ritual ideas, which is really, really nice. You're going to find a lot of different ritual ideas out there, especially like from different books. And actually Llewellyn has a whole series where you can get 8 separate books for each Sabbat, which is really nice because it does go in depth. And when we get to Samhain, I'll kind of talk about the Samhain book a little bit. But so with Yule, it is the transition from darkness to light. So we have coming up literally in like 21 days. So we have autumn equinox or Mabon coming, and it is when night and day are completely equal. This only happens twice a year, during spring equinox and autumn equinox. So, and then what we're going to notice is that daylight's going to be shorter. So, it'll start probably at 11 and a half hours and then go to 11 hours of daylight, then 10, and then go down from there. And so those like up in Alaska or really far northern Canada, you guys are not going to have as much daylight. You're going to have I think it's like 2 hours of daylight after. So when we hit Yule, which is also winter solstice, that is literally when we start to see also winter solstice. That is literally when we start to see that the actual altar at Stonehenge faces summer solstice. And so it's opposite for winter solstice. So obviously it's got a very deep meaning, especially with the pagan Sabbats. I know when I was there, what was really funny is there was a British man who had some friends, and he was literally standing next to me, and it was obvious that I'm like a pagan because I had my Celtic knot dresses, and I was like dressed to the T's as a witch. And he's like, oh yes, this is a pagan place. And he's like telling everybody, oh, this is a pagan place. And, it really truly is. And actually at summer solstice, it's huge. Winter solstice is actually really big there too. Not as big as summer solstice, but it is very big because it literally faces that. So that's something to keep in mind. Yule faces that. So Yule is the transition from darkness to light, and it symbolizes rebirth. And this is the time for everybody to gather for the longest night, to invoke the goddess and the god, and to return the light. This is literally also when you get really deep into it, and she does not touch on this. Because keep in mind, this is just a really extremely high overview in the book, and I'm going to hold it up again for those that are just joining. It's The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. It's a very high overview. So it's literally the birth of our king, our God. So the goddess gives birth to the god. So it's also that cycle is going on. So we do celebrate this. So in the Northern Hemisphere, this is on the 21st of December. And that is when we celebrate it. A lot of it, I literally teach classes on it and break it down. Actually, when I do rituals, so if you ever want to join me, I do an online ritual, and I do go into a little bit of the history, a little bit more than what you're going to get from our book, because there's a lot. But she does give a full ritual in here. And you're welcome to use the ritual. You can sometimes tweak the rituals too, and that's okay. Don't ever feel like you have to keep the ritual that you ever find. Like if you find anything from Scott Cunningham or Christopher Penczak, I mean, you can tweak what they have written or you can write your own. So also keep that in mind. So this is coming into a bright future, and that's what Yule is. All right, so now we're going to move on to our next Sabbat, which is Imbolc. So in here, it is also known as Candlemas, and so she has it in here as Brigit or Candlemas. And I've heard Brigit's name said a few different ways. So I don't want to offend anybody. I've heard people say Bridget, Brigit, Brigette. I've heard lots of different pronunciations. So honestly, anybody Irish, I would love for you to come up because of different pronunciations. So honestly, anybody Irish, I would love for you to come up because she's an Irish goddess. So I would take anybody from Ireland and Scotland's pronunciation over anybody else in the world, to be quite honest. Because it is a very big celebrated holiday in both countries. So in the Northern Hemisphere, we celebrate this on February 2nd. So celebrated holiday in both countries. So in the Northern Hemisphere, we celebrate this on February 2nd. So the question is, what does the ritual of Bridget, or Candlemas or Imbolc? She doesn't use the word Imbolc, but that's what a lot of us know it as, is Imbolc. Emphasize personal growth. All right, she does give a very, very brief. Chant in here. She doesn't give as big of a ritual as she does for Yule. Personally, I feel that each Sabbat is very sacred, and I have pretty similar rituals, so they're usually the same length, and I do libations that I like to have it, and then depending upon which Sabbat I will have a food that will that will correspond with the Sabbat. Like we have Mabon, or autumn equinox, coming up. So I usually have breads, and this is also like Mabon, or autumn equinox, coming up. So I usually have breads, and this is also like pumpkin time of year, like we're harvesting our pumpkins. Pumpkins will be harvested from Mabon through Samhain, but it's a fun time because of everything that's being harvested. So we do get to harvest different things at different times of year. So that's also the cool thing when we're working with the Sabbats, is the food part. So with Candlemas or Imbolc, the question I had was, what does the ritual of Brigit emphasize about personal growth? So I know there's a few people that just joined. We are doing our Witchy book club, The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. And this is the second to last chapter 12, and it is on the Wheel of the Year. So I wanted to just kind of emphasize a little bit. Brigit's ritual focuses on self-discovery, and it highlights your own light, like your own divine light within yourself. It's that metaphor for nurturing and recognizing yourself. So it's that time for you to grow stronger. So kind of keep that in mind. It's that, all right, start your year out with being stronger and letting your light. Our next Sabbat, and this is our spring equinox, or Ostara. Again, I've heard it pronounced many different ways. So, but this is what actually Catholicism based Easter off of. And all of the symbolism, actually for Yule and for Ostara, what actually Catholicism based Easter off of. And all of the symbolism, actually for Yule and for Ostara, all of the symbolism, like the Christmas tree is actually a Yule tree, Yule logs, all of that is from paganism. And the same with Ostara, spring equinox. The only difference is that, in some of the cultures, snakes, it's the first time the snakes are coming out, but we have snakes as a representative. We have rabbits, we have baby chicks, because all of the new little babies are being born. So now during Candlemas and Imbolc, it's the Yule time of year. This is when the baby lambs are being born. But when we get to spring equinox, this is when our baby chicks, our baby bunnies, everything now is all of the mamas, our baby chicks, our baby bunnies, everything now is all of the mamas are given birth now. So we have all of this new births coming about. This is the fun time when we start to see the trees that have been in hibernation, that now we're going to start seeing little teeny green leaves starting to poke through, and weeks after they're going to start to open up and uncurl. So we get to see the beauty of nature around us as it grows. So the question for our book, Spiral Dance, is how does Ostara celebrate the balance of light and dark? So I had just said we're coming up on Mabon, which is autumn equinox, and spring equinox, or Ostara, is when light and day is equal. So we will have 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark. So this is a really great time to balance on, to celebrate inner harmony and balance, and welcome the breath of fresh life that starts to come. I know it's one of my kids. It's like that time of year when it starts to get a little warm out and you don't have to wear like boots and socks anymore. So it's like, yay, I can wear sandals and I can almost walk barefoot on the ground again. So that's kind of the nice part about spring equinox. And again, she does have a little bit in here about ritual. So she gives a little bit about ritual. All right, our next one, some people call May Day, but it is Beltane. And this is a really fun Sabbat. Granted, I love all of our Sabbats, but each Sabbat has something unique and different, and Beltane definitely has that. So Beltane, or May Eve. So depending, we also have, and she doesn't bring this up, Wellspring Night. That is actually celebrated in Germany, and that is usually on April 30th. And Beltane in some places are celebrated on April 30th, but most of the time it is celebrated on May 1st. And that is in, again, the Northern Hemisphere. So, and I'm sorry, she doesn't talk about the dates for the Southern Hemisphere, and I was going to write them down and I totally forgot. So I do apologize for anybody in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm like, I can't remember. Oh, in the Southern Hemisphere, the date would be Samhain. So it would be Samhain celebration for the Southern Hemisphere. So Beltane, the question is, what role does desire play in the Beltane celebration? So she briefly talks about it. She talks about, briefly gives ideas for rituals. She doesn't give a full ritual. And again, like I said, this is actually a very fun ritual that you can have. In some cases, everybody in attendance will jump over a broom and holding the hands of their loved one, or everyone will jump over a broom, regardless of if you have like a partner or significant other. Sometimes May King and Queen are picked. There's not even a full page on some of the Sabbats in here. So what she talks about is how Beltane marks the energy and desire that embodies joyous celebrations. And it symbolizes the maiden and the Lord marrying, getting together. This is a time of celebration, dances, chanting, and coming up with your individual intentions. So it's a beautiful, beautiful time of year. So then we move into summer solstice. So it just seems like we just had summer solstice, but we didn't. So summer solstice is typically June 20th. Now she says in the book, June 20th to June 23rd. So I know some people, like, it is celebrated between there. Most of the pagans that I've celebrated with, it's usually on the 20th or the 21st. So kind of keep in mind, it varies there. Now, like I just said earlier when we talked about winter solstice or Yule, this is summer solstice, and it's also known as Lithia. And again, Stonehenge, it's based on that. I know I talk about Stonehenge a lot. It's a place that's been near and dear to my heart ever since I was like a wee one. So since I was a wee lass. So I've always been attracted and loved Stonehenge. So this is summer. This is literally summer. So our spring flowers are done. Everything should be in full bloom. And this is when, like, all of our beautiful summer flowers are coming about. We're getting close to strawberries, to picking strawberries. Strawberry moon is one of the first moons after summer solstice. She does give a ritual. So it's really interesting because she does give a bigger ritual for Yule and summer solstice. So winter and summer solstice. So the question I had was, what is the underlying message in Lithia ritual regarding growth and change? So this is a huge one because when we hit summer solstice, this is the longest day of the year. So opposite of it is Yule. So for those in the Southern Hemisphere, when we hit June 20th, that is when you're celebrating Yule, and we're celebrating Lithia here in the Northern Hemisphere. So this time of year represents duality, and it celebrates the peak of light. It also is now the decline, because now we're not going to see as much sun. Now it's really subtle, like right now, we just left visiting family an hour away, and I wanted to get through the canyon before dark. Plus I was like, I have a TikTok live. But, now we're seeing like 4 weeks ago, sun was setting between 8:30 and 9. And now we're seeing it set between 8 and 8:30. And pretty soon it's going to be setting at 6 p.m. So pretty soon it's going to be setting earlier and earlier. So let's see. Why you become more younger and younger. Oh, thank you so much. I actually had makeup on today. So we had a wedding with family today. So we were at a wedding. So it was a pretty calm wedding. So, but some weddings get a little wild and crazy, and this one was just nice and calm and relaxing, I guess you could say. So granted, I watched my granddaughter and my niece just running around all crazy and having fun. It was really cute. I was supposed to be watching them, and you know what, I've had all my kids, I'm grown, I'm an empty nester, so yeah, they could just run and do whatever they wanted. So that's the fun thing about being the fun aunt, being the fun grandma. So yeah, summer solstice. So Starhawk gives us a very, very nice outline. So it is really great if you want to write a great summer solstice. But okay, the question, back to the question, because I get derailed a lot. So back to the question. The Lithia ritual, what is the underlying message in Lithia regarding growth and change? So I was just talking about how it's the peak of light and we start to decline after that. This is our time where we learn acceptance and growth and the cycles and how we flourish and fade. So we have to embrace both joy and loss in our life. And that's what we learn that a lot. And we can learn to, I've noticed since I've become pagan, my grief process with losses is not as, I guess they don't seem as traumatic to me, if that makes sense. When you realize everything has a cycle, and whether we are in the spirit realm or on the earth realm, we still get to live that cycle. We just live it in a different place, right? So I guess that's kind of the message I learned. So, and thank you, Rain. Thank you so much. So yes, it prepares us for that. Because we're growing. We went from the world in hibernation and decay to the peak of its light. So we just had 30 days ago Lagestat, after the god Lag. This is our first harvest festival. So this is when we're starting to harvest all of our fruits and vegetables, because it's the time, it's the cycle with the earth. It's like we've got to harvest this, and if you leave it on the plant too long, then we don't get to enjoy the ripeness of our tomatoes and our corn and all that beautiful, beautiful fruit and vegetables that we have. This is also known as Lammas. Now she does not, I don't think she brings that in here. No, but she does give us a little bit about the god Lug. I've heard it pronounced multiple different ways, and I pronounce it multiple different ways. So I do apologize for that. But he is our sun god, a Celtic sun god. And she does give a nice little ritual in here for it because it is our first harvest. So the question is, how does Lugastat reflect the theme of harvest and sacrifice? So the god represents the time of reaping and sowing. So it's that interplay between hope and fear. And yes, I love that. The fruits and the words of God. It really is. I mean, that's our time. And I'm loving the farmer's market this time of year because it's like all the good fresh stuff, like green beans and tomatoes and squash, all the good stuff's out. So when we're celebrating this harvest that we just celebrated 30 days ago, we get to confront our fears and let them go, and recognizes the sacrifices that we've made to help our plants and help our harvest, because they do need our help. If we let weeds get in the way, the weeds will overtake and they will actually harm our fruits and vegetables and herbs. And I'm just going to tell you, so I even consider weeds sacred. I won't use anything to kill dandelions because, quite frankly, dandelion tea is really healthy for you. So I would actually harvest my dandelion roots. So that's why I never used any kind of pesticides or what are they on lawns? I don't know, like weed killer. So I'm not like that kind of person. Plus, there's insects that actually need a lot of our weeds. So bindweed got into my little herb garden, and I was like, oh, I'm going to leave it because I use bindweed in my magic. But unfortunately, bindweed chokes the plants. So it kind of goes around them and pulls tight, and it will actually unalive your herbs. Or if you have flowers or wherever it is. So I was like, oh man. So I literally the next year I had to clean out the whole entire flower bed because it took out all of my beautiful plants and herbs. So I had to clean that baby up. And I was like, all right, sorry, bindweed. So we do have to nurture. So when we are talking about lammas, we do have to nurture our plants. We can't just okay, we're going to let you grow. Now they will sometimes grow. Okay. I remember this is a funny story. So, a squirrel, I actually named him Naughty, was in my yard, and he got into my garbage can and took out some corn on the cob, right? And he ended up spilling some of it in my yard. We randomly had corn stalks growing in the middle of my yard, and my kids were like, Mom, we can't play we can't do volleyball in the backyard anymore. And I'm like, why? We were laughing. We actually made sure to nurture that corn. So we had corn coming. We grew corn in the middle of our lawn. So, but we did have to nurture it. And if we hadn't the grass would have probably unalived the corn. So we do need to make sure that we are nurturing our herbs, our fruits, and our vegetables. We've got to make sure that, that our plants and our herbs and our vegetables can grow, and we need them. I also I like spiders. They don't scare me. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you guys are here. And sometimes if I miss the chat, please feel free to retype. I am trying to pay attention. So, you know, we do need to nurture our gardens. We really, really do. It's so important for us to do that. But yes, please enjoy your farmers markets, because I know like here our farmers market is going to end in like 2 weeks. I'm really sad, but it also starts to get really cold here. So it's not like we can do farmers markets through October, because some places are, you know, lower elevation. I'm literally like on top of the mountains. So we're almost we're like just shy, like 30 feet shy of 7,000 feet above sea level. So we're pretty high up here. So yes, we have to nurture our plants so that we have food. And I was talking about spiders. Yeah. You know what? I actually, just because I don't use any kind of pesticides or anything in my gardens, I actually, when I get spiders inside, and it's like, I don't mind, I let them stay inside in the winter when it's cold. And then when spring comes, when I go out and if I'm planting like tomatoes or something new, or, the temperatures drop. Yeah. You know what? Leaves are actually starting to turn red and orange here. So like it was 51 degrees last night here. So yeah, temperature is dropping where I'm at too. So yeah, we're almost ready for autumn equinox. It's literally 20 days away. So, but I love seeing the signs. Like somebody asked me my favorite season, and I'm like, all of them. There's something beautiful about each one. So if you don't want to use pesticides, spiders, like I said, I don't mind. Like I had this last winter, I had like probably 5 or 6 spiders on my altar. And when spring came, I said, all right, it's warm enough outside. I'm going to take you outside. And I gently placed them like by my herbs or by like fruits and vegetables, because they eat the bugs that eat our fruits and vegetables. So I'm like, what a natural way to like make sure that we have a beautiful little life cycle for us and for them. So yeah, I actually really don't mind. And they're usually safer on my altar because my husband doesn't touch it, and he doesn't like spiders, because I'm like, don't kill them. Oops, I can't say that word. Don't harm the spiders. So I usually, like, if I find them, sometimes I'll snag them, and I just make sure that I have different spider species in different places so that they don't harm each other. All right. So now 20 days from now, let's all get excited, right? Because like the signs are out there. I will actually probably go live on my, TikTok words. Exactly. It's so hard too. I will probably go live tomorrow morning on my morning walk. I did go live yesterday, and when I walked over to the buffalo, the bison here at Bear River State Park, they're my neighbors. The bison are my neighbors. They're 2.5 miles from my house, or 2 miles, 2.5, something like that. But yeah, I did notice the signs of spring. I saw a lot of leaves turning red and a couple turning orange. So, and then as we were driving through the canyon today, high up, I could see a lot of leaves changing colors. So with that said, in 20 days for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. And again, Starhawk talks about September 20th to the 23rd. So usually I celebrate on the 20th or the 21st. So it will be up to each person. It does kind of change. Like, the Farmer's Almanac is pretty accurate, but we can kind of get an idea of when we're going to have where daylight and night are exactly equal. Again, it's completely opposite of spring equinox. They're the only 2 times of year where daylight and nighttime are equal. So she does give us a little bit more on here. She does give you a little bit of a ritual for this, but this is really our last harvest festival, because there's not much that has to be harvested before Samhain, but there is a little bit. Like pumpkins are still out and some of the squash is still out. But by Mabon, by fall equinox or autumn equinox, we do need to be harvesting everything. So everything needs to be in. If we don't have it in, it's going to start Pikachu and I have been having dropping temperatures, and yeah, we have to kind of keep an eye on that. And some of our farmers have to like have fires in their fields to make sure that some of those plants are okay. I mean, you know, it's still like 80 degrees in the day, but at night it's dropping. So the question for Mabon is, what is Mabon recognized for the context of personal reflection? So Mabon, fall equinox or autumn equinox, symbolizes a time of thanksgiving. I love doing this one. I usually bring bread and apples because this is the last of our apples being harvested. Well, not quite the last, because my favorite apples are Granny Smith, and Granny Smith actually are still, we can still get after Samhain, but there's not many apples after Samhain. So this is our time of balancing light and dark within ourselves. And it's an opportunity for us to like look at what we've done through the year and decide, what do we want to work on during our hibernation time? Thank you so much, hun. Thank you, Pikachu. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So it's a really good time to reflect. So I'm so glad we're talking about this now, because we're 20 days away. And it's that time we can start thinking about, what do we want to work on ourselves spiritually? Because we get to grow spiritually. And like here in the spiritual TikTok land, we get to grow and flourish as people. So think about how you want to grow and flourish. Are you going to like pick up a new book? Are you going to come every Sunday and join Witchy Book Club and join us? You know, are you going to learn astrology? Are you going to learn chaos magic? What are you going to do to better yourself? Are you going to pick up a new hobby? Like, it's our time to think about it. So it's a very beautiful time to reflect on what we've done in the year and what's coming forward. So that is our Mabon. So then we come, and so this is where a lot of people in the pagan community actually consider it Witch's New Year or Pagan New Year. And that is Samhain. And Samhain is actually it's always been very New Year or Pagan New Year. And that is Samhain. And Samhain is actually it's always been very sacred to me, a sacred time of year to me. And yes, it is Halloween. So, and actually people have always dressed up. The pagans actually dressed up. The reason being is they didn't want the evil spirits to find them. They thought it was a way to trick the evil spirits so that nobody would be harmed by evil during that night. So it's considered when the veil is the very thinnest during this time of the year. But this is our celebration to connect with our ancestors. So Samhain is very, very sacred. So she does actually give a very, very good ritual in the book for Samhain. It's like the longest ritual you're going to get for this particular holiday. This is the time of year that you can make like your ancestors' favorite meals or traditional meals. Like, say you come from Ireland, have corned beef. You know, if you come from Germany, sauerkraut and brats. I mean, you know, this is that time. Or if you have like my grandfather, he loved a good elk roast. So if I can find elk roast or deer roast, that's what we have on Samhain to celebrate, because that was like his favorite, right? So, and then leave a plate for your ancestors. This is a really great way to remember them and show love and appreciation. So our ancestors love that. It's that connection to us that they love. So the question for this one is, how does Samhain connect the themes of unaliving and rebirth? So it is marked as the Witch's New Year. So a lot, like when I teach my beginning witchcraft, I do go into a little bit more detail in the Sabbats. But I always start with Samhain. Like Starhawk, she started with you all. So, and it's okay. Like, you know, I know some actually start with Imbolc because it's the first Sabbat after the New Year. So, but Samhain signifies, like I said, that where the veil is the thinnest, and it's the celebration of the cycle of life. It really is. It is our cycle of life with our relatives and our ancestors and our life. So it emphasizes endings and new beginnings. And so it's a very special time. So you usually want to wait, like if you have a loved one who has passed, you usually want to have a picture of them. Like if they pass in September, you want to wait for a year after they've passed typically, but it's okay to bring them anyway. My list it's getting a little longer the older I get, like the people that I miss, but it is an important time. So it's an important time for us to celebrate love and to celebrate our ancestor and our heritage and to honor them and to reflect on our ongoing cycles. Especially like if we have children or grandchildren, and if you're not a parent, but you like are an auntie or an uncle, it's a great way to like teach your nieces and nephews so that they know. And I'm sorry, I don't know what the non-binary would be for nieces and nephews and aunt and uncle. So if anybody wants to share that, please feel free. I know like I have an adopted niece nephew, and I just call them a niece nephew because we were like, what is it? Because they didn't know either. So we were like, all right, we'll just call you a niece nephew because what else would you be? And sometimes it's a nephew niece. So yes, it is a really good time to teach our younger generation. And even if you don't have like nieces and nephews, but you're in a pagan community or you're in a coven, it's a really beautiful way to teach the younger generation too, so that we can keep these pagan traditions ongoing. Our pagan ancestors are even happy. And you know what? An ancestor doesn't actually have to be biologically related. Like if you happen to like be reading and you're like, wow, I really like Isabel Gowdy, who happens to be a Scottish witch who was alive in the 17th century. You may connect with her and she may become your adoptive ancestor. So just kind of keep that in mind. Like you may be like, hey, I really like Gerald Gardner, or I like Doreen Valente, or, so you can they can become your adopted ancestors, because we have one thing in common, right? We have the beauty of spirituality, of our spiritual practice in common. And so that's like pretty sacred and pretty special. So, all right, Spiral Dance ends this chapter, Starhawk ends this chapter in Spiral Dance. Oh, thank you so much, Pikachu. She ends this with talking about how we are interconnected with all beings, and we have this collective energy with shared intentions and shared transformations. And, we really do. We have these ebb and flows. And like when you're out there in nature, find that connection, whether it's with the water or with the dirt or with the rocks or with the deer or with the rabbits. Find that beautiful connection and connect with nature. If you have the ability to do a garden, get your hands dirty. We want to get in the dirt and we want to enjoy it. We want to just love and enjoy the cycle of life, the cycle of nature, the seasons. So I did briefly talk about Llewellyn came out, I think it was in 2019 or 2020. They came out with a beautiful series with each of the Sabbats. And so actually right before the Sabbat, it was maybe a month before each Sabbat, a little book came out. And I wish I had mine, but I'm in a little apartment and my 6,000 books are in a warehouse begging me to come get them. So my apartment is not big enough for my books. But I love community circles, blessings, ceremony, and gatherings. Yes. You know what? And it is beautiful with children. You know what I absolutely love? Like my daughter and son-in-law, I guess you could say they're non-religious, but they have been very open. Like I actually, for each Sabbat, I have been giving gifts to my grandchildren of a story of how the Sabbat came around. And it's been really, really sweet that they've allowed my grandkids to learn that. And my daughter's like, yeah, we've actually learned a lot. So it's kind of sacred and special to me. So, oh, you also have, yes, I know I should have kept a couple more books out. I have room for more. So I may have to go find another box of books, but yes, books are joyful. So, yes, we need to spread the joy and the love of our Sabbats, our 8 beautiful Sabbats. So Llewellyn came out in 2019, 2020. They came out with a series. So you can get like a nice book. There are probably about 150 to 200 pages. Came out in 2019, 2020. They came out with a series. So you can get like a nice book. There are probably about 150 to 200 pages per Sabbat. It literally has a section on correspondences. It has a sections on food, like different types of foods you can make, and then ideas for rituals and making your own rituals. Oh, I love that sacred taco ceremony. Yes, I've actually participated, and I am planning on, like, I will have in-person Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 this summer here in Wyoming. I'm very excited about it. So it will be in person, and I was planning on doing a keiko ceremony. So I'm very excited about that for those that sign up. So it's like a little less than a year out, like by like 10 months. But yeah, because it's July of next year. So I think that's 10 months. But yes, please share that. And those books are wonderful. So they're a wonderful addition. And it does go into more details because, again, Starhawk's just giving us that little high overview. And I kind of dug a little bit bigger. Oh, thank you. I love teaching Reiki. And it dug a little bit bigger. Oh, thank you. I love teaching Reiki. I really do. And I love having Reiki in my life. So when I get on that, I have found it to be such a joy. Like my dad's dog who has passed, he had arthritis pretty bad, and he always followed my dad. And I gave him Reiki one time. After that, every time he saw me, he would come up to me and he would like nuzzle my hands. And he knew, like, we had like that unwritten, like, give me Reiki. So I've noticed, like, my granddaughter, she's like 5.5 now, but when I would go out and visit and she wouldn't sleep at night, she's never been a sleeper. She's a Sagittarius, so it's every Sagittarius I know, that's just the thing. Most fire signs like to stay up and not get a lot of sleep, so we'll just leave it at that. But like, you could tell she was tired, but she wouldn't want to sleep. So I would just like rub her back and give her Reiki, and boom, she'd be out in a heartbeat. And my son-in-law's like, how do you do that? And I'd go, ancient Japanese secret. And he's like, what do you mean? And I finally I'm giving her Reiki. So it's a Sagittarius moon. Yeah. It's just the energy that Sagittarius gives. It really, truly is. And honestly, it's almost it's because Aries is that way too. I'm an Aries, and Leos are kind of that way. So it's, I don't know, I guess we're the fire in the night. Maybe that's what we can call it. I don't know. So that's super exciting though. So we will be doing the last chapter next week, which is creating religion toward the future. So Spiral Dance by Starhawk's last chapter is next week. So in 2 weeks, we start Bren's book on the goddess Nyx, and it will only be for 2 weeks. And then after that, we're going to do The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. So Bren and I, during spiritual panel a couple weeks ago, it really got pretty, like, we were like getting pretty deep in it, and I was like, oh my gosh, we need to read The Great Divorce. And he was like, oh, that would be a good one. So if you're not familiar with C.S. Lewis, I have so much respect for him. Yes, he wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but he is brilliant when it comes to spirituality. Absolutely brilliant. And if you read The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe, like if you read that whole series, there is so much, you can grow so much. See, oh, glad you like it, Pikachu. Yes, pick up The Great Divorce if you have not read it. So yeah, or if you have read it, just be ready to come up on panel and jump in with us, because we'll do a chapter a week. Oh, see, you're a Sagittarius, Aries Sagittarius. Yes. So you're probably like me. Like we can, sometimes we have like last night I got like no sleep and I'm fine. I mean, I have yawned a little bit during this live, but yeah, I'm fine. So yeah, so we're going to do the Great Divorce. And I actually got in a huge discussion with my husband about the screw tape letters and how, like, right now, I feel like everybody in the United States needs to read it. It was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't think a lot of people like that are religious understand their religion. And if they read screw tape letters, it would be that eye opener that they need. So I don't know, maybe we'll read screw tape letters too. But C.S. Lewis is so amazing. So I don't remember which order it was, but he was either Protestant, atheist, and Catholic, or it was Catholic, atheist, and Protestant. But he was atheist in the middle. And because of that, and his study of theology, because he studied theology quite deeply, it's just really super intense, and we can really see this huge spiritualness. So the Great Divorce is going to be really great to read. So here we go. And the collective consciousness is going through a sort of feeling. Yeah, it really is. It really is. We're also in the age of Aquarius. We know for sure we are now. A lot of people do. I felt it was on the Great Conjunction. Because we're almost done, I'm not letting anybody up, but next open panel will be spiritual panel on Thursday. So I think we're going to have a really great discussion. So that will start in 1, 2, 3. So that will start in 4 weeks. So in 4 weeks, we're going to start The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. So please feel free to, especially if you've read it. So, we'll be doing Nyx in 2 weeks. We start this beautiful book. We finish Spiral Dance next week, and then we start The Great Divorce. So I'm really excited about that. I will spontaneously go live tomorrow morning. I'm not sure what time tomorrow morning because it's a holiday, so I will probably sleep in, but I will go live as I go say hello to my neighbors, the bison. At Barrett River State Park in Wyoming. It's like I said earlier, it's 2 or 2.5 miles from my house. So it's a beautiful, beautiful walk through nature to visit my neighbors. So I will go live, and hopefully the elk will be out too. I love being this close to nature. I love it. Oh, thank you, Pikachu. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, it's especially when we can connect with nature this much. It's definitely worth it when we can. Get out, get your feet. Like I still until it's too cold, I will be wearing bare feet or sandals. So your feet. Like I still until it's too cold, I will be wearing bare feet or sandals. So I want to thank everybody tonight. Thank you so much for all of the hearts and those who gave gifts. Thank you so much. I really super appreciate it. I will be live again for sure on Tuesday for Tuesday Tarot at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Super appreciate it. I will be live again for sure on Tuesday for Tuesday Tarot at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Thursday next week, we are doing spiritual panel, and we are talking about the zodiac sign Cancer. So we just talked about, please feel free to join. It's a great discussion and good time. So as always, everybody, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And like I said, I'll be spontaneously live tomorrow, but it will just be my morning walk through nature to go say hello to the bison and the elk. And maybe I'll see moose. If I wake up early enough, we'll see moose and deer out. So fingers crossed. It's a joy of living in the mountains. Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you, everybody. As always, merry meet, merry part. Bright. You are so welcome. Thank you, everybody. As always, merry meet, merry part. Bright.